Welcome to the SJSU Green Campus podcast, a podcast about a range of sustainability and social issues that impact the SJSU campus and the broader community, hosted by the student interns from the San Jose State University Office of Sustainability.
Hi, everyone. My name is Shivangi Patel, and my pronouns are she, her, and welcome to episode 8 of the SJSU Green podcast. Today, I am accompanied by Anne-Marie Bonneau and Mary Mackey. Anne-Marie Bonneau, also known as the Zero Waste Chef, is a blogger and author who advocates for reducing food waste and living a more sustainable lifestyle. She is known for her creative and delicious recipes and her blog and cookbook, The Zero Waste Chef, where she offers tips and strategies for reducing food waste in the kitchen. Mary Mackey is a plant-based nutritionist and educator who runs the blog The Wholesome Vegan. She is dedicated to promoting a vegan lifestyle through healthy and whole foods and providing education and resources to help people make the transition to a plant-based diet. She offers a wealth of information and resources, including delicious plant-based recipes, nutrition advice, and tips for living a vegan lifestyle. So thank you both for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Excited to be here and talk about this topic.
Me too. I think this is something that's going to be super useful for all students and even people who have come out of school and are just learning how to reduce food waste in their life. How has your cooking style changed as you become more conscious of sustainable practices?
I'll go ahead first. Once I started learning first I learned the health benefits of a plant-based diet, but once I could see how factory farming and animal agriculture is responsible for deforestation, the majority of our fresh water, our land, there's so much destruction that changed me to eat a whole food plant-based diet, and which uses much less water, less land, less harmful to animals, obviously, and it's much healthier, and you can reduce your risk of many chronic diseases. So it kind of hits a lot of points focusing on a more whole food plant-based diet or vegan.
And my cooking style has definitely changed. So I think, like most people, I used to look up a recipe that I thought looked tasty, and I'd go out and I'd buy all the ingredients and bring them home and prep the dish. And if you do that, you have a lot of leftover food and a lot of leftover ingredients. So now I let the contents of my kitchen dictate what I'm going to make. And so I'm a much more creative cook now than I used to be, because I've, put these constraints on myself, and it's a lot more fun. And, you discover combinations that maybe you wouldn't before. So, they're just benefits. I can't think of any downside to reducing food waste or the way I cook now.
And what techniques do you guys use to make sure you're making the most of the food that you have available in your kitchen? And any tips you have for reducing that food waste in the kitchen?
Yeah, I go by recipes now. I find great recipes that they kind of all connect together. So I can fill up my pantry with beans and lentils and canned tomatoes and tahini sauce, and learning some of the basic plant-based ingredients to always have on hand, and learn how to use some basic recipes that you love, because it's got to taste great, but then you're using less ingredients. And like we spoke before, we're not buying 20 ingredients for one recipe and end up throwing them away. So that, and I try to only buy at the grocery store what I'm going to eat, because it's just me. And so I feel so guilty if I have to throw something away. So I try to buy just what I need for that week, and then batch cook if I can. So during the week of school and work and all the stress we all have, that we have food prepared that's delicious, that we'll eat, that we won't throw away.
Yeah, I similar to Mary. If you learn a few simple recipes that are highly adaptable, you're going to slash your food waste. And also, like I mentioned before, start with what you have on hand and let that dictate what you're going to make. You'll absolutely slash the food waste. And then simple things like storing food in glass. If you see it, then you're more likely to eat it. The freezer, use the freezer, because, sometimes we do buy too much food or we don't get to it. You can freeze all kinds of food. And that's nice if you do make, say, a giant pot of, I don't know, chili and you can't eat it all, put some in the freezer and then you have a meal for later.
Do you guys have any advice for those who are just getting started on a sustainable cooking journey?
When I was at the sustainability fair, we talked to a lot of students, and it was so exciting to hear so many people that feel the weight of what's happening to our planet and wanting to make a change. And one of the teachers was saying, there's so many vegan restaurants around in San Jose State. So I actually just started to compile a list of those, and some of them offer discounts to students. So I want to really research that and make the list. But one thing before I forget is there's an app called Happy Cow, and have every student, anybody who's listening, make sure to download that app on your phone, because then you can pick vegetarian, vegan, and then it'll list the restaurants around you. And in addition to that, many, even if it's not a fully vegan restaurant, many of them have rice and beans and vegetables that you can, try to eat eat less red meat. That's kind of, I think, the first big goal is to eat less red meat. So see what's around you, make it fun. I'm going to try to do that next semester, go to class a little bit earlier so I can try out more of these restaurants. So, but I have heard from many people, there's a lot of vegan options in and around San Jose State.
Yeah, I really recommend Good Karma. That's my favorite vegan restaurant to go to in downtown.
Oh, good. Yes, I want to try that. Okay, great.
Their nachos are the best ones I've ever had.
Yummy.
I would tell people getting started cooking, eat more vegetables and eat more legumes. Most of us need to eat more of both of those. So that's a good place to start. And if you eat more fresh produce, you're also going to cut packaging waste, because it's all the highly processed stuff that comes in the shiny packages. So focusing on those, I think, will really help.
Are there any other key dietary changes that you guys would recommend for college students?
I think exactly that is because eating more beans is an adjustment to our microbiome. And those adjustments are letting us know kind of what shape our microbiome is in. So I think baby steps, and I eat beans every day now. I could never do that early on. And I'm surprised, but it's just because my microbiome's really healthy, and that's I'm so excited about that. So, and a can of beans is 99 cents. So if somebody is in a dorm or an apartment, that's so easy to get whole wheat or flour tortillas and a couple cans of garbanzo beans, black beans, and some salsa, and fresh vegetables if you can. If not, get the frozen broccoli, throw it in the microwave. I think beans are just high in protein and high in fiber. And that's the one thing this whole world lacks is fiber. People get plenty of protein, but young people do need to keep an eye on that. So I think beans, they're cheap and they're so healthy, and they have no cholesterol and loaded with the things that give students energy and brain power to get through some of these classes. So that's what I would recommend.
Yeah, I agree. Just eat lots of beans. My daughter is in university in Canada, and she eats lots and lots of beans.
Good for her. That's so great to build those habits at a young age. Sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and her friends think she's some sort of genius because she knows how to do these really basic things.
And that's such a great point, because they're basic things and they're easy, but we just didn't know about it. Nobody really taught us.
Right. Yep.
The McDonald's or something quick that's so unhealthy for us that, yeah, some of those key recipes that you're talking about is so helpful for everybody.
So kind of going off of that, what are some creative recipes that you guys would recommend to college students with limited kitchen resources?
I would love it if we could get a list, because I have some great cookbooks that, because it's got to be easy for me, and so it would be, I have some great recipes that I could share. If there's some way of getting a database or a list together, I'm happy to share those as a fallback for people to go on. But, something simple when I'm super lazy is two things. I get a whole grain flour tortilla and I put it on the stove, and then I put a slice of vegan cheese, which I know it's not the healthiest, but vegan cheese. And then I'll put some type of whatever I have in the refrigerator, vegetables, hopefully broccoli, salsa, it just whatever you have in the refrigerator, throw it in that little flour tortilla or whole grain. And that's so fast, it's so easy. And of course, avocado if you got it. So there's some great easy snacks like that. And the second one, if you have a blender, I use Vega protein, and you can throw in frozen fruits in there. Or if you don't want to use protein powder, it's just fruits and vegetables. You get frozen or fresh kale or spinach. Spinach is great because it doesn't have a strong, distinct flavor. So that's something so easy for a student to do. Just whether you use water or plant-based milk, throw in some fruits and veggies and protein powder if you need it. That's so quick and makes a great meal, to help us think better in class.
That sounds yummy.
I know.
I'm getting hungry.
I know.
About once a week, I make a big vat of soup, and it's so easy. It's like a zero waste 101 meal. So this last pot, I put in chickpeas because I had to soak some for something I filmed the day before. So I had these chickpeas I had to use. And I had some cooked rice in the refrigerator. And I had some sad looking but still edible mushrooms. They add a ton of flavor. And one parsnip, one lonely parsnip, onions, and it kind of tasted like corn chowder because it had a little bit of sweetness. The parsnip was huge. So it had a little bit of sweetness and it was creamy. It was turned out very thick. Anyway, it was delicious. And it's always different and it's easy to make. And if you make a big vat of that on the weekend, then, you'll have food during the week. And, I put an apple in it. I had one little apple that was a little bit wrinkled, or starting to get a little wrinkled, but still edible. There was nothing wrong with it. So I thought, I'll throw it in. It was small and nobody was going to eat it. So I did that.
I was just going to say that's such a key point that you bring up, is that planning. I think whether you're a student or you're a teacher, whatever your age are, we're going to eat healthier if we plan. So I think it's like we make time to study, do our homework. I think it's important to plan that time. And maybe you can, with your friends in your dorm.
Yeah.
You get together and say, okay, I'll bring this ingredient, I'll bring that.
Yeah.
And batch cook all the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If everybody takes turns, you can have a ton of food with much less work.
Yeah, I like that.
So looking at a more larger scale, how do you guys envision a zero waste future for the food service industry?
That's a really big question. There's so much to do. The biggest waste is animal products, and I'm working with FFAC, the Factory Farms Alliance Coalition, and that's their main objective, is to stop factory farms, the pollution that it gives, the water consumption. One hamburger is equal to 27 showers. That's a lot of water. So somebody thinking, I got to be real quick, a 5-minute shower. Well, that's great, but it takes a lot more water to produce and animal products and dairy. So the future is education. I think everybody has to do their best and jumping it all in or one day a week. But really, that's going to be the biggest change is talking about it with your friends, talk about it with your family and say, hey, let's try Meatless Monday. Or James Cameron's wife, Susie, wrote a book, One Meal a Day. It's called OMD, 1 meal a day to be plant-based, no animal products. And then you start to see how you feel too. But I really think that's going to be the biggest impact each one of us can do is to eat a more vegan diet. And we got to just talk about it and educate each other.
Yeah, I think education, I mean, the food system here is a horror story. And people just don't realize. And I mean, it's not just the food. Right now I'm writing something about PFAS. It's in all the packaging. The packaging's filled with toxins. So it's yeah, education and regulation. And unfortunately, the people don't like to hear this, but consumers waste more food than if food waste for a pie, the biggest slice would be consumers. Restaurants waste a lot, grocery stores, they waste a lot, farms. But in the developed world, it's at the consumer level. So, and I think education and laws. So this SB 1383, making people separate their food waste from their other garbage, I think that is going to make people realize, wow, look at all the food I'm throwing out. Maybe I could, figure out some ways to stop that. So I think regulation will really help.
That's one thing I want to learn more about is these different laws and to support that. Because like you said, there was a time I remember where we didn't recycle. Everything went in the garbage and then we started recycling. And I know that's a whole nother topic of what gets recycled and what doesn't. But look how much, talk about learning. Look how much stuff that we're able to recycle that we didn't before that we just threw away. So I think the other thing that can go hand in hand with education is what can we do in our community? What can we do? So I'm next to New Season. I've been talking with them. It kills me when I go, in the fresh produce area and people pull the plastic bags to put one zucchini in and put, they've got 5 bags and that ends up in our ocean. So, these nets, I brought some, but of course, people that are hearing this can't see them, but you can just go online and you get these nets and that, cheap, $12 for a couple different sizes that you can bring to the farmer's market, that you can bring. So maybe it's each student just saying, hey, Mom, Dad, let's Google this. Let's buy some.
Oh, yeah. There was an article in the New York Times a couple of weeks ago about how I think it was a city in Ohio has reduced its food waste. And a lot of it is kids shaming their parents. They learn about it in school and they come home and they say, Dad, why are you throwing out that sandwich? Do you know what happens to it when it goes to landfill? Do you know how many resources went into producing it? And then the parents are going, oh, gee, I better clean up my act.
So that's huge. So I think that the students that are listening, be an influence and educate because parents weren't brought up this way, and grandparents. So it's just letting them know of different things. Let's do reusable bags. Let's use these reusable bags to put our broccoli in, and that we can keep in your car or keep in your backpack to reuse. Can you imagine if they got rid of, so I'm approaching New Seasons. They just changed their name here, Evergreen. But what can we do to encourage people that go shopping there to buy these? This is one of my pet peeves that I would love to see change. And maybe some of the students that are listening now have an idea to do that.
Yeah, using reusable produce bags eliminates so much plastic.
Mm.
And you can just keep them tucked in your shopping bag, and so you always have them.
Yep.
And I sew really simple produce bags. That just if you sew, Or if you don't sew, it's a good way to learn if you want to learn.
Right.
And you know, they're cute and they last for years and years.
Yeah, they do. And when the farmer's market in Evergreen, I forgot the area that it's in, but I bring all my reusable bags and I put all the fruits and vegetables in these bags or nets. And I rarely see other people doing that. So I guess being an example is another way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So much to do. There's so many things we can do.
There are. And the stuff isn't, it doesn't have to be hard. And I think people think if I live more sustainably, I have to give up all the things I love and lead this dreary life and be completely miserable. And it's just not true. I have gained so much from living my more sustainable lifestyle. It's, I'm much happier, I'm healthier, the food tastes better, I save money. So,
you know what, that's another really good point is some people would think, oh, to be vegan, it's more expensive. And I save a couple of $100 or more each year going plant-based because I'm not buying any meat, no chicken, no pork, no nothing. And
oh yeah,
I may spend a little bit more on vegetables, but I get frozen too, and maybe a little bit more for fruits. But I try to, go to the farmer's market. But it's not expensive. It's not. And beans, lentils, a big bag, $1.99. And so really, it'd be great if we could somehow have plant-based cooking classes on campus. I don't know if they're already doing that or not, but either virtually or live, just to show like, boom, boom, boom. Here's some 5 easy recipes to do and inexpensively. Yeah, that would be fun.
nothing. I'm just agreeing. Yeah, it'd be fun. Could do them over Zoom. Everybody cooks together, and then it's more fun to cook with a group like that.
Yeah, I like that. I think making it easy and no pressure that you have to be a really good cook, because I'm not. I'm not, but I'm doing it. So I'm so proud of myself when I make this one dish I just made. I'll have to share it with everyone. And it was with garbanzo beans, and it was a curried garbanzo bean salad, and it had chopped broccoli and carrots, and all the seasonings were so good. And I thought, you got everything in one salad that you could put in a sandwich or eat as a salad with greens. And it was so easy, and it lasted several days. So I'm going to batch cook that again this weekend for next week. So when you do, which I'm sure you've experienced, it makes you feel so good, that, hey, I could do this.
Yeah, that sounds so delicious too.
Yeah, that sounds really good.
They're so delicious.
Yeah, eat more chickpeas.
They're so good, and you can put them
They
in
are.
anything.
You can. Yeah.
I definitely find even making those small changes in my lifestyle or like picking up those small habits, it still means something and it's still doing something. So I definitely like that that's being encouraged to people, that like ease your way into it, and
Oh
like
yeah,
it
yeah.
still matters. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to overhaul your whole lifestyle overnight. I don't think you can. I mean, you just set yourself up for failure
Yeah.
and frustration.
Starting off with like a few like food swaps and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
The last question I have is, what are some of your favorite places that you recommend in San Jose or the Bay Area for plant-based foods?
My favorite place is real close to San Jose State. It's Vegetarian House. And right now they just have the outdoor open, and you can use the QR code to order, and you can eat it there or take it home. That's my favorite place here. And when I lived in Los Angeles, Real Food Daily was really good. But Oakland, solely vegan. That's, I have to say that the Vegetarian House in San Jose and then solely vegan in Oakland are my 2 favorite restaurants.
I don't really eat out that much, so I'm kind of drawing a blank. But I want to add, when you do eat out, take a jar or 2 with you to bring home the leftovers. It's a really easy thing to do, and then you don't have to choose between throwing out the food or getting one of the disposable containers that they give you. And even if they are that compostable paper, they might be lined with, or they might contain PFAS, plastic you don't want. So just bring a jar for your leftovers.
Boy, that's such a great idea, because I bought all the glass containers to put food in because of the what is it, PBA that was been in plastic?
Yeah, BPA.
BPA. So, but how great just to bring a glass container that we have, so that we can.
Yeah.
That's such a good
Because
idea.
they bring you so much food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can't usually possibly
Eat it all. Right?
eat it all, and you don't want to throw it out. And then you have food ready to go for lunch the next day,
Right.
or eat it for breakfast if you want to. So that would be my big tip for that.
Good one.
So those are all the questions that I had planned, but is there anything else you guys want to discuss, or want to share any resources?
I think the biggest one for me that I wanted to share was Happy Cow. So students can know more vegan restaurants around them, or plant-based restaurants around them. And the company I'm starting to work with, FFAC, I would definitely check them out, because they have all the information you want to learn about factory farms and what you can do to help prevent that, and what goes on, because the key is it's out of sight, out of mind. If there was a factory farm right here in downtown San Jose, oh boy.
Oh, it would shut down. I mean, Michael Pollan says if the cruelty were transparent, it would stop immediately. We wouldn't stand for it.
Yep. So they put them away in these places that outside, out of mind, but the people that live around them, and that's that one documentary I was mentioning before, The End of Medicine. I highly recommend that one, because they really talk about what happens to the people that live around these factory farms, and what happens to their health. So it's layered, animal, what it's doing to our planet, our water usage, pollution, the dead zones. So I highly recommend, if the students haven't already, is to educate yourself and go to a website like FFAC, and learn more about it, to see what interests you and what steps you would like to take.
Yeah, and I'd say read anything by Michael Pollan. The Omnivore's Dilemma, that changed my life. And who else? Mark Bittman's book that came out in maybe 2021, Animal Vegetable Junk. That's fabulous. It's sort of a history of the food system, and it's great. It's infuriating, but it's great. And he does have a section at the end about what we can do. So those are, I'm looking at my bookshelf. Anyway, those are a couple of books.
And as far as health goes, for people that are listening, are studying nutrition, my favorite book is How Not to Die by Dr. Greger, and he goes through every disease and what foods increase your risk and what foods decrease your risk. So for yourself, for your loved ones, so that you could help their journey with food, I highly recommend it. And it's all scientifically based.
And I see you have Michael Moss's book too up there. Salt, I forget. I have it also. Can't quite. Salt, sugar, fat.
Oh yeah.
That's a great book.
Another great one.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's great.
So many good books. So many great plant-based doctors out there making a difference, So whether somebody's interest is in the environment, animal welfare, or nutrition, there's an avenue for you to learn more and to take action in. And we feel better when we're doing something for ourselves, for our family, and our beautiful planet.
Yeah. And it brings joy too. It's, I find all of this a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me about this topic. I definitely feel a lot more inspired to and more motivated to make these changes in my lifestyle and just be more mindful of the choices I make.
Well, thank you so much for having us. And it was great to meet both of you. And I hope to see you again.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having us. And yeah.
Thank you for listening to our 8th episode of the SJSU Green Campus podcast, a podcast by the San Jose State University Office of Sustainability. To learn more about the topics discussed in today's show, check out our episode description to find links to a variety of resources mentioned in this episode. Special thanks to our guests Anne-Marie Bonneau and Mary Mackey for joining us today. Follow us on social media at SJSU Green Campus to stay connected. For more information about the SJSU Office of Sustainability, check out our website, sjsu.edu/sustainability.